I'm Diane, Wedner, Lifescript.com. Are you hiding sexual secrets from your doctor? I sat down with Dr. Yvonne Bohn to have the talk. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
What are the 3 most common questions women do not ask their doctors?
I think women are nervous to talk about incontinence. So a lot of women suffer from either leaking, like you said, when they cough or sneeze or jump, or having inability to control their bladder. Women don't talk about changes in their menstrual cycles that could be dangerous for them. And the biggest one I think women are embarrassed or nervous to talk about is lack of libido.
So when they say they have a lack of libido, how do you handle that?
Well, I talk about how it's normal that a lot of women as we get older do tend to have less libido, especially after menopause. And unfortunately, there really isn't any medication for women that help with libido like there is for men, so that's very unfortunate. But really for women, libido is a very mentally driven thing, and so ways to make themselves feel good, ways to make themselves connected to their partner to help reestablish the libido.
Is there a normal amount of sex? Is there, that you should be doing it? If you're this age, you should be having sex 3 times a week, and if you're this age, these many. Is there a definition of it, or again, does that just depend on the women?
I think it depends on the person. I don't think there is a specific amount of sex that is normal or abnormal. Some people fear that if they stop having sex, that everything is going to just dry up inside of them. A lot of women fear that if they don't have sex, they're going to hurt themselves. But honestly, the desire to have sex and the frequency for sex is very individually based. So some people will want to have sex once a week, some people will have it once a day, or once a year. So that really is based on how you feel. There isn't really a good amount or a bad amount of sex to have.
So if a woman believes that she's having, say, too little, that her libido is very low, if she talked to her doctor about that, could it be a hormonal issue, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, if women don't have a desire for sex, you need to look at different reasons for why. Definitely it can be hormonal. As we get closer to menopause, our natural libido does decline. Certain medications people take can decrease their libido. So birth control pills do decrease our libido. Antidepressants decrease our libido. If a woman has pain when she's having intercourse, that may naturally decrease her libido because she won't want to have intercourse if it hurts. So definitely if you notice a decrease in your libido, you should talk to your doctor to make sure there isn't some organic reason for why you're not interested in intercourse. And then ultimately, problems in the relationship with a woman and a man can lead to decreased libido. So that can be signs of possible abuse to the woman. So other conditions can cause women not to want to have sex.
Or they might need to see a couples therapist to talk about the marriage itself. You just mentioned pain during sexual intercourse. Is that ever normal, such as after childbirth or during menopause?
Yes, so pain after having a baby, pain with sex after having a baby is not uncommon for a couple reasons. One is that after we have a baby, the vagina, there can be trauma to the vagina and injury to the vagina that is repaired after the baby is born, but there is some healing in that. When a woman is breastfeeding, and especially if she's exclusively breastfeeding, her estrogen levels are very, very low. And so it makes the lining and the walls of the vagina very thin and dry. So if you're breastfeeding exclusively when you have intercourse, it may hurt. Now, once you start having periods, your estrogen levels rise, and then the normal vaginal texture and moisture comes back to normal, and sex doesn't hurt as much. And that is the same thing that happens to women in menopause. Once we go through menopause, our estrogen levels decline, and that specifically affects our vagina. Our vagina gets thin and it gets dry, and the actual skin of the vagina changes. It's what we call it atrophies. So it doesn't mean after menopause that sex is going to be miserable, but you can use a hormone cream. It's an estrogen cream or an estrogen pill or an estrogen ring that we put in the vagina that reestablishes that good, healthy vaginal tissue.
And what about over-the-counter lubricants?
You can definitely use a lubricant. So if, for example, you just have a baby, I would definitely recommend using a lubricant. Or if you find that you're not getting aroused as quickly as you need to, if you start having intercourse when you're not ready, if you use a lubricant, that will help. Because when there's friction and it's dry, it hurts. So over-the-counter lubricants definitely help for any of the conditions of painful intercourse. But In the menopause, you really need to use a lubricant during sex, but also prep the vagina with a hormone cream.
As you described earlier. And after childbirth, should women wait a certain number of weeks if they have a vaginal birth before?
Yes, we typically recommend that after having a baby that you wait 6 weeks before having sexual intercourse. Normally a woman is recommended to go see her doctor 40 days or 42 days after she's had her baby, and that is when we check the vagina, make sure everything is healed, make sure the uterus has gone back to its normal size, and then talk about contraception and things like that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bohn, for shining a light on subjects that women too often keep in the dark.
Well, thank you for having me, and I just want people to know, don't be afraid to ask your doctor anything. There's nothing that you can say or ask that I haven't seen or heard before.
And it's okay if we blush.
It's okay if you blush.
And as always, be sure to check with your doctor before beginning any new health regimen. For more information, visit our Women's Health Center at www.lifescript.com. From Los Angeles, I'm Diane Wedner.